As children learn, as they get more familiar with themselves and the world, those experiences really are important about themselves. So any interaction, connection, relationship that they can identify with that helps them begin to understand who they are and how they fit into the world would be really very beneficial to them. One of the primary goals that we have in wanting children to become positive, productive members of communities is for them to figure out who they are in a very positive way, but also where do they fit into the world. And so as we think about the more traditional way of doing that face-to-face, hands-on, a variety of different methods of learning for children, we now have technology as a tool that helps support that process of children being able to understand who they are, what their strengths are, what they like, what attracts them, what excites them, and also where they fit into the world. Where's that place where they can express who they are, where their ideas are, what their perspective is. As a child learns, and the idea is for a child to keep going back to a particular experience, it's not helpful for children to have just a one-dimensional experience. Having a two-dimensional, three-dimensional experience means that there's an element of curiosity. There's an element of discovery. We want children to be engaged. We want them to explore. And that's where the sense of curiosity comes in. We also want them to experiment, not only with materials, but also with ideas. And so again, when we look at the use of technology in supporting that learning, we want those experiences to be able to have a sense of curiosity, a sense of wonder. Well, how did you do that? How did that happen? There's a lot of questions that children will want to ask about, well, do that again. Can I see that over again? Again, that sense of repetition, going back to the experience and being able to essentially tear it apart, look at it, reconstruct it, helps in that learning process. So thinking about elements of wonder, discovery, exploration, experimentation are really vital for children because those are the skills that we want them to have as they become adults and productive and contribute to the community. I think the content is not the basic traditional things of letters, numbers, and colors. That's everywhere. Children are going to learn that. They're going to know that. It's kind of like osmosis. But I think it's the ideas about who we are as people. How are we similar? And how are we different? And different means just different. We live in a global world. And it's really important for children to understand that globalness because that's the world they're going to be adults in. And so having experiences that relate to each of us about how are we doing certain things? How do we eat? How do we play? What toys do we use? Those are the most important things for children at a very basic level. But also, how does that happen in Africa? How does that happen in Australia? How does it happen in Pakistan? How does it happen in England? All of those things are going to be really important for children to be able to function, but also contribute to the world as they are adults. When I think of the concept organic learning, I think of spontaneity. I think of meeting the child's interest right at that particular moment. It's a teachable moment. It's ripe for fruition in terms of material exploration, idea exploration, and learning. And what we want to do as a teacher, as an early childhood educator, is to be responsive to that. Not to say to a child, wait 5 minutes and we'll come back to that. But it's really ripe. It's where the child is, and we need to meet the need of the child right at that particular moment. So when I hear organic learning, I think of being very receptive. I see a sense of openness and a willingness to travel with the child on a particular journey, not knowing where you might end up. And I think that's part of the exploration, part of the experimentation we want children to have. In terms of organic learning and how technology might fit into that concept, you might be thinking about posing questions to children so that after they have finished watching the experience, have an opportunity to either go to a library, to a museum, or something even within their own physical premises to continue the experience. There may be some suggestions, there may be some open-ended questions for them to explore, to talk about, to reflect on, to do some research on. But it may be a way to continue the experience rather than once the particular show is over, learning is done. No, learning needs to continue. So the organic learning may be that opportunity for the technology to provide other experiences that build on the basic premise of what the child's already experienced. When I think about the concept of everyday magic, I think of excitement. And for each child, that's going to be very different, which is the exciting part, because not every child is going to be excited about every little thing. For one child, it might be some sort of discovery. For another, it might be a new word. For another, it might be how two ideas relate to each other. And I think that's the robustness of what technology has to offer, is because it can help children in so many different ways, not all in the same way. We're not all excited about the same thing. We're not all wowed or have those surprises about the same thing. And I think having that flexibility, that sense of creativity, is going to be what's really important. So it's not just one thing, it's everything, but the child will determine, this is what's really exciting for me. This is what I want to know more about. That's when you have those aha moments.